Hi, my name is Brian Beasley, and today I'm going to show you my homemade Christmas tree platform adjustable height, so you can put the Christmas tree stand on this and then raise it up to whatever height you want to raise it up to the limits of the metal rods. It's been kind of a tradition in our family that the tree should touch the ceiling, the top of the tree should touch the ceiling. So with varying heights of trees, I tried to find a way to be able to make that happen. So here's the base, and I had these pieces of wood, and I kind of had the idea that I was going to be able to fold it up and store it. Didn't really work out. If I had it to do over again, I would just get two boards just like this, the same. The size of the boards are determined by the size of the tree stand, so that when the rods are in place, the tree stand can slide into position. And I didn't want to make it any bigger than this, because as you'll see when I show you the finished product, I've got a little train that runs around the base of the tree, and so it can't be too big to not accommodate the train. So once again, I just get two pieces of board just like this. Now the key here is you can measure all you want to as far as where to drill the holes, but my suggestion is that you just put the two boards together, drill the holes in the corner straight through, and then mark at least one corner so that the holes will line up. It's a whole lot easier than trying to measure and get the holes in the right place. So you'll see there I just put a little mark, and that says LR, which I forget what that stood for. Left rear. Left rear. So you can make your own mark, and then you can remember what it stood for. As long as the marks are the same, doesn't even really matter what it stands for, as long as you know the alignment. So this is the base, and it's got holes in it for. So the principle here is I've got these four rods that go in the corners, and these are threaded rods, and they're actually I only bought two of them at Home Depot, and then I cut them in half. And you'll notice that once I get them in position and it works, I put these little circular tags on there so that every time they go back in the same position in the same hole. Also, I'm really careful when I take the nuts off that I keep them with their proper rods, because some of the nuts worked better with the rods after they were cut than some of the other ones did. So once I get everything working, I label it, and then I put the labels back on every time I take it apart, and so that everything goes back together exactly the same. And you'll notice these nuts are bigger, and I think these are 1/4-inch rods, but it doesn't really matter as long as the nuts are the same size as the rods. But I got these bigger nuts because the way you're going to adjust the height is you're going to put a wrench under there and gradually screw the nuts up. And so these are a whole lot easier to grab than these little nuts. The little nuts are fine because these will go through the bottom of it. But for the adjustable nuts, you want the bigger ones because they're a whole lot easier to grab. Now, it is kind of a tight fit with these holes to get the rods through. So some other inventive person may decide that they can find some metal inserts to put in those holes that are slightly bigger than the rods, and then it might slide up and down better, and you might actually use the jack to jack it up. But that seemed to me to be a whole lot more complicated because the jack would have to be exactly centered. Otherwise, when you tried to raise it up, it wouldn't go up evenly. So what I do is I just use the nuts to gradually go around to each corner and increase the height, and then I use the jack. I do it little by little, and then I raise the jack. So the jack, ultimately, when it's pushed up against the base, you'll see it when it's all together. The jack is what's doing the supporting weight. Now there are these two nuts that hold the jack to the base. They don't have to be all that big or sturdy because all they're really doing is keeping it from sliding. because the weight of the tree on the jack is really what's holding it in place. Now you see this. This is an external water source that hooks up to the tube to the tree so that you can, add water to the tree from the outside. And you'll see that when it's completed. This board clamps to the adjustable stand and holds there's some other things that go with that, and you'll see that in the finished product in the picture. That's just an extra added thing, but it clamps to the adjustable stand because the height of this water to the tree stand is what determines how the water empties. So this just goes up and down with the tree stand, so that accomplishes that. But that's really kind of a separate thing from the actual tree stand, and I'm not going to do a video showing me putting it together because it's pretty straightforward and you'll just see the finished product. Okay, here's the base with the rods in place. What I did was I went around and tried to get the screw down. You notice the washers there? I think that's kind of important. I think it stabilizes it, but I wanted to get each position about the same height and a little higher than the jack when it's in the all the way down position, so that when I put the top on, it's pretty level and pretty even. And notice the tags there, I'm keeping them, and also that I kept the nuts that worked right by their individual rods. I did run out of the bigger nuts, so these two positions have little nuts, but they're just on the top, so they don't really provide any support, so it's not that important to have the bigger nuts on top. And on the top position, it's not that difficult to actually I had 3 of them there. It's not that difficult to tighten them down from the top position, so it's not that important. But if you can get the bigger nuts for all the position, I think it's probably an advantage. So now I'm going to put the top down, and then I'll show you that completed. Okay, here's the finished product with the top on and the tree stand in position. I put a level on it. The top is as low as it can go, sitting on top of the jack, as low as the jack can go. That way when you bring the tree in, you can go ahead and put water in the tree and get it all set, but you only have to lift it, like a couple inches to get it on the stand, and then the rest of the heavy lifting is done by gradually going around to each corner and slowly screwing the screws upwards to raise the elevation, and then little by little, so you raise it up at half an inch or so on each corner, and then you raise the jack that amount, and then you go around to each corner and raise each corner half an inch or so, and then you raise the jack. And there is some leeway in the bending of the rods, so that if you didn't get the tree exactly level in the stand, you can do some leveling by adjusting one side or the other up higher, like the back higher than the front or something like that, to level it up a little bit. And then once again, there's a board that clamps to the top of it that holds the water attachment. And when this is all finished, you'll see a couple of pictures of that show that I took some pictures to show how high to raise the water stand up so that it puts the level of water in the stand at the right level. And you'll see some pictures of that, and you'll see some pictures of the finished tree on the stand. And if this works for you, fine. It does require a little bit of manual labor, a little bit of figuring out, and obviously some safety factors to take into consideration. Those rods are sticking up, but I hope it works for you, and if it doesn't, well, that's the way it goes.
Frosty the Snowman was a jolly happy soul, with a corncob pipe and a button nose and 2 eyes made out of coal.
Frosty the Snowman is a fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, but the children know how he came to life one day.
There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found, for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around.
Frosty the Snowman was alive as he could be, and
And the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me.
Frosty the snowman knew the sun was hot that day. So he said, let's run and we'll have some fun now before I melt away.
Down to the village with a broomstick in his hand, running here and there all around the square, saying, catch me if you can.